Hi everyone, this is Cecilia, and we're continuing on with my January 2025 project life using mainly the Scrap Your Life kit and some other stuff, including this stamp set, which is by Laura. It's called Once Upon a Park, and I'm using the stamp that says Princess Stories to document what's going on with Maya this month. This is VersaFine Clear ink in Morning Mist, and it's not too juicy, so I don't have to worry too much about getting it into the tiny little spaces between the letters or the actual letters. All the cards that you see here are from the Scrap Your Life kit, and if you want a closer look at it, then it is available on my previous video, which was part 1. This is a January calendar with a Monday start, and I'm using leftovers from some old plum paper planner monthly sticker kits to decorate it. This sticker says MLK Day, and if you're outside the US, it's Martin Luther King Jr. Day, a federal holiday. This sticker says Happy New Year. And that's a tiny cake to mark my mom's birthday. I pulled out a couple of stamp sets I thought I might use. The first one is an old one by Studio Calico, and the second one is by L Studios, Little Icons. The pink ink I'm using is Cinnamon by Versacolor. The green ink is Oasis Green by Versamagic, and this is Versamagic Aegean Blue. I'm going to mark Maya's birthday with this little tiara, which was a gift from my friend Evelyn Loves Paper, so unfortunately I don't know where it's from. I'm using the Tombow Mono Air adhesive, and I made the switch because I felt like it rolls on better than the original mono adhesive. For journaling, I'm using the Sharpie Fine Point pen. On the calendar, I will be drawing a line, and I used the Mon Ami Plus Pen 3000 for that. Obviously, there's going to be a ton of photos of Maya, and sorry, not sorry about it, but if you're a cat lover, you'll understand why I am elated. You see, I have not been a primary human for almost 10 years. I've been the lowly, stinky human who was only allowed to pet Maya when I was straight out of the shower before touching anything, or in the winter in my craft room when the window was open and she was cold and she needed me to keep her warm. So yeah, for me to be giving her a bunch of kisses and petting her and putting my head on her little head, oh, it's just the best. And I had to document it because it was very fresh and very new, and she would hardly ever sit on my lap in the living room or in my nook. So yeah, sorry, not sorry. These are old Paper Person puffy stickers, and the sheet below that is from the kit Scrap Your Life. The heart that says Juntas means together, and unofficially Maya always gets a little heart in every picture that she's in. We do have another cat. She's a tuxedo. Her name is Chloe, and she's not nearly as photogenic. She also doesn't hang out with me as much, and she's a little bit of a bully sometimes, and she'll be totally fine with me petting her, and then she will swat at me with her claws out. Okay, so what I'm currently doing is putting numbers on all the photos. I'm going to tell 4 stories in the card up above it. It says Invierno, los mejores momentos, which means winter, the best moments. And the kit comes with the numbers 1 to 5 in case you are documenting weekly. As you can tell, I document monthly, so I wanted to use the stickers. I'm using the Heidi Swapp stamp set called 4x6 numbers, and I ended up going with the Versacolor Celadon ink for the numbers. I'm okay when I'm stamping the 1 and the 2, but when I go to stamp the 3, I want it to be centered, so then I lined it up with the photos over on the right side, and then I was able to stamp number 4. Once I started my journaling, I decided that I wanted the date for each photo, since some of them are from the beginning of January and one of them is from the last day in January. And I used Versamagic Oasis Green here again because I wanted the date to be a little bit darker. Yeah, the first photo is Maya on my lap. I still have the Christmas tree up. The second photo was on the 2nd of January, and we got a bunch of snow unexpectedly. Actually, that has been the theme of this winter, a lot of unexpected, unforecasted snow. For picture number 3, it was what I would call drizzle snow. It was so tiny, I've never seen snow like that before. And in picture number 4, there were these water drops on the handrail. As I was going down the stairs, I went to hold on and I fully expected to feel the moisture through my gloves, but I didn't, and I was surprised, and it was because the water drops were frozen. The bottom row is about a visit to the vet. The card on the left says the most beautiful thing I own, or maybe I have, in Spanish. So I'm covering that up with some pink cardstock from the Scrap Your Life paper pad that I got from Kimidori. Then I'm going to use a stamp from the Laura by Laura stamp set from November 2023. It's 2 band-aids perpendicular to each other with a heart in the center. And I tried 2 different inks, which were Versacolor Cinnamon and Cocoa. Ultimately, I decided to go with Cinnamon because Cocoa was a little bit more brown. I used the Kimidori circle dies to cut the circles out, along with the Spellbinder's Scout. I thought the pink strip could be a little bit thinner, so I cut it down some more before adhering it to the card. The January Scrap Your Life kit includes a metal die, and each month for the rest of the year has a couple of pages that you can cut using this die. The tiny washi tape that I used over on the photos and the geotag symbols are part of those die cuts. I'm stamping the date to the bottom of the card using a Studio Calico roller date stamp and Versacolor Celadon. And then I'm going to finish by adding journaling to the card. On the left is Maya, and she was traumatized on her way over to Germany. We used the service to get the cats over here, and so ever since then, Maya has always hid under the blanket or the towel that is in her carrier, and that is what she's doing here. The geotag needed a little bit more glue, so I used the Zig Squeeze and Roll pen. I'm adding the words Vet Office using some old Paper Person alphas. I placed the geotag symbol at the top because I felt like it did not read properly had it been horizontally next to the Vet Office letters. So then I felt like there was a little bit of a gap, and I wanted to add some paw prints. This stamp set is Household Icons by Everyday Explorers, but unfortunately it's no longer available even in digital format. I'm adding a little bit of journaling underneath each photo. Before moving on, I decided that I wanted to cover up where it says the best moments in Spanish, just because these are just winter moments, not necessarily the best of them. So I grabbed the pastel paper pad from Mintopia and I cut a little strip out. I then grabbed the winter stamp set that was designed by In a Creative Bubble for Studio Calico, and I used the stamp that says Winter Vibes using the StazOn pigment ink in Snowflake. Since I wasn't sure if one pass of ink would be enough, I used the stamping platform to make sure that I would be able to get a second impression on the same spot. This one is by Onaif. I think that's how it's pronounced, but I'm not 100% sure. It's a Spanish scrapbooking store. And I did need to stamp this twice to get a good impression. Since the hinges on this stamp platform are spring-loaded, I have to be a little bit careful to make sure that I don't add too much pressure and squeeze the letters out of shape. The platform is made this way so that you can use rubber or clear stamps. This little puffy heart came from a Laura by Laura kit from last year. I didn't think that the January stood out enough, so what I wanted to do was cut a strip to cover up the January and the days of the week. Actually, I would have rather cut off the top of the card, but this piece of cardstock was not big enough, since I had already cut off a strip from the bottom. I took the Happy New Year sticker off the calendar and decided to stamp January using the Carrie Bradford About Time stamp set with Versacolor Cinnamon. I adhered the cardboard strip down, and then I'm going to add the first letter of the days of the week. I was going to use Carrie Bradford's Creamer along with VersaFine Clear Morning Mist, but I thought it was too bold, so I decided to try Annie, also by Carrie Bradford, along with Laura by Laura's Egeo ink pad, so it wouldn't be as bold. So I stamped the M for Monday, the T for Tuesday, the T for Thursday in the spot of Friday, thinking I would save myself some time. So I go back and stamp where Thursday should have been, stamp the W, and then try to fix Friday by adding a little line and then stamping the S and the S again. And we're done with this side, so let's move on. I pre-selected the cards in the photos. It doesn't always mean that they're going to remain where they start off though. On the previous page, I used the happy face journal card, and on this side, on the same spot, I'm going to use the sad face journal card. I'm using the current mood stamp from the Everyday Explorers More Currently Seals stamp set, but I'm going to use washi tape to block out the bullet at the beginning. I'm using VersaFine Clear Morning Mist ink. On the WhatsApp card, I'm stamping So Over This, and it's Feed Your Crafts Feeling This stamp set. On the bottom of the sad face card, I'm also stamping Is This Really Happening from Kelly Perky's Bad News stamp set. I'm adding journaling to the WhatsApp card, and basically I'm talking about how I deleted the apps except for WhatsApp. And the sad face card is going to contain private journaling, so I'm not going to be recording that on video. The pink card on the bottom says receta, which means recipe, but I'm not going to put a recipe on there, so I want to cover that up. At first I'm thinking of punching a circle and adding a stamp to it, but then I like the bigger stamps better, so I decided to go with savor every bite, and I stamp it onto the pink cardstock and trim it down to size. This stamp set is Here for the Food by Studio Calico. You might be wondering why I would subscribe to a kit in Spanish and then cover up the parts in Spanish. And like I said, I'm not covering all of them up, but I do love the colors and I like that they coordinate easily. So I'm willing to change things up a little bit so I can make the most out of the kit. So I decided to swap out a card that said work, work, work on it, as it was a little bit dark for my liking, and I used this card instead. It's also from the Scrap Your Life kit. I stamped a cute little pocket page scrapbook, and it's from Paper Person's Crafty stamp set. I gotta say, it's funny watching this back because I can see where my ADHD is kicking in and I am working all over the place. So now we are back to the Savor Every Bite card, and I'm adding the date and journaling. The date on the left side for the picture of the tamales, and then the date on the right side of the card for the deconstructed chiles rellenos. I use this method instead of using arrows. Back to the scrapbook card, I die cut some rectangles using Kimidori Colors dies for 3x4 cards, as I want to add journaling above and below the little scrapbook. However, I find them to be a little too big for this purpose, so I trimmed them down using the Scrap Your Life die and the Spellbinders Platinum 6 machine. I'm still not digging the idea of having journaling on the top and the bottom, so I decide that I'm going to add the journaling to each photo instead. I'm thinking this card is going to say currently, so I pull out the Everyday Explorers These Days stamp set and I swap the position of the photos on top. I place the card on the stamping platform in case I need to stamp this multiple times, and as it turns out, I did need to. I'm not sure if it was because I didn't prep the stamp properly or if my ink is drying out a little bit, and this one again is Lora by Lora Egeo. I add the date and then I journal about how I am pulling up my hair trying to get a good print, testing things multiple times, and then I decide that I'm actually going to put that on the photo of the printouts instead, and I'm going to add journaling about what I'm currently documenting, which is our Vienna trip back in November. Then I document how I am trying to work on voiceovers, but Maya is on my lap, so that's basically impossible to do. I adhere the journaling down and then I tape the two cards that are going to go in the top left pocket together so that they don't shuffle or do a little dance in the pocket. I trim them down so that they are the same size. How could we forget Maya's little heart? This time we're going to be using one of the teeny tiny little hearts that was die cut, and I am using the glue pen again. I add a little puffy fork before I tape these two together, and the puffy sticker is one from last year's Lora by Lora kit. I add a little heart to the deconstructed chiles rellenos as well because it's one of my favorite dishes. However, I do not have the skills to make actual stuffed peppers, and so this is a nice compromise. Moving on to the last page. This one actually does not have a lot of our own photos. Yes, I could have added more Maya photos, but no, I did not. I have a couple of promotional photos from TV shows and the covers of the books I completed in January. I was spending too much time debating how much of this I wanted to show because it's a lot of repetition, cutting the cards and cutting the books, trimming down this one card that says Enero, that is Lora by Lora, and that says 2025, so I wanted to use it even though I basically end off trimming off the 25. So let me know if you want to see the process of me cutting down the cards or if we're good with just skipping to the cards being placed and going from there. I did both in this video. I have ADHD, so I mean, if I get bored of editing a video, the chances are that I will just leave it forevermore or until next year. Sorry, yeah, that's the truth. I'm trying to work on that, but it's really hard. So here I am arranging and rearranging the books. I wanted to put them in order, but then I was like, should I put them based on how they pop off the background? So I decided to wait on it. What I was sure on was that I wanted the stamp of the little books over on the left side, and that stamp is from Everyday Explorer's Cozy Read. Since I wanted to make sure that this card really stayed in place, I also added some low tack tape behind it to try to keep it in place. This time I used Studio Calico's Clean Slate ink because it's a little bit lighter than the VersaFine Clair Morning Mist. FYI, I'm not going to show you me arranging the books again because that's 15 seconds. However, I just wanted to say that I am popping this back in because I am checking to make sure that the colors balance nicely. I didn't think that any of the die cuts from the kit really fit here, so I cut my own. This stamp set is Book Review by Everyday Explorers, and I'm going to put together a stamp. So this stamp says favorite books, and I am blocking out the favorite part, and then I am inking it. I'm going to remove the washi tape once I'm ready to stamp it so that only books and the little book will stamp onto the circle. Next, I grabbed a little blob of orange there that says this month's, and I'm going to stamp it above books. I don't like that the books are just floating around, so I might make them a little shelf, but for now I'm going to think about it and work on this journal card. It is by Lora, and it is part of this year's first kit. It says Lo estaba deseando, which means I was craving it, and I added the date and some journaling. I grabbed some of my Everyday Explorers alphas to add as the title to the journal cards and to cover up what they say in Spanish. Since they're the same show but different countries, I wanted to use the same design formula, which was the country and then the season. I chose the colors of the alphas based on what I felt looked best with the promo photo. I could have done the orange with the UK traders, but I felt like it wasn't bright enough, so I was being a little picky. For the January card on top, I used an Everyday Explorer sticker from one of the kits, and it says how I remember it. For the gray border card, I'm going to cover up asombroso, which means amazing. I'm going to stamp pickleball on whatever shape I end up cutting out. I chose my color, I trimmed it down, I grabbed Clean Slate again, I stamped pickleball, I missed a corner, I went over it again. And then I trimmed it down some more, and then I glued it down. The Pickleball by Paisley Press stamp set is currently on sale at Studio Calico, so make sure you grab it if you are interested. I journaled about me basically quitting pickleball until I get lessons and how my husband's pickleball journey is going. I am using the Media Prompt stamp set by Everyday Explorers. I stamped watch this month and new season onto white cardstock to add to the promo photos. The UK got watch this month because they aired the whole season on BBC, and the US one started in January, but actually it just finished this past week. And if you're interested, the UK season just started on Peacock, so I highly recommend the show if you haven't checked it out yet. The Laura by Laura Memory Locker kit is quarterly, and I wanted to make sure that I used anything that said January on it. So that's why I grabbed this card. Initially, I was going to use the card as it was, but then things changed and I still wanted to use it, but I trimmed it down. So January as I remember it, I put the Home Sweet Home die cut from the Scrap Your Life kit on there. I said we were homebodies because we were. I grabbed a small puffy sticker to cover up the A that was not covered by the die cut, and then I journaled some more about the weather. I put a little puffy sticker of a controller, even though it's not a Nintendo one, and journaled about how I played way too much Animal Crossing, and a little dumbbell with my Peloton 32-day streak. I felt like there was too much white up in the corner, so I decided to frame the journal card with some pink cardstock. I swapped the positions of the traders cards. I put the UK season on top since that is complete, and then the US season below it. I decided to go ahead and put the little books on the shelf. I didn't want to do anything fancy. I also tried to shorten the shelf on the bottom, but I didn't have a round corner punch that was small enough, so I left it as it was. I printed the book covers using my Canon Zoe Mini 2, which is the same thing as an Ivy 2, and I printed them on sticker paper. Okay, so while I am adhering these down, I just wanted to let you know that I am still updating my blog. The URL is wanderlustdocumented.com. I'm posting detailed photos, and I'm also doing a little bit more of a write-up. I wasn't going to keep my blog this year, but I decided that I wanted to because, funnily enough, I actually prefer reading as opposed to watching videos. So wrapping things up here, this is what the final layouts look like. Like I said, I posted photos over on the blog. The link is down below. And do let me know if you're a huge trader fan like we are. Thank you so much for spending time with me, and I will see you soon.